Okay, we're good. Looks like we got quite a crowd now. So let's talk about this. I have a class coming up on August the 7th. That's next month. As usual, all of my classes are recorded. If you can't make it live, don't worry about it. We will have a link sent to you that is downloadable for 30 days, right? And we have a really nice support team. If you have any problems, understanding any of this or downloading your stuff, always email us and let us know. But typically it's fairly easy as long as you have room on your device to, download this kind of stuff. I really wanted to broach this topic because anytime we have a live here on YouTube, or whether it's on any of my spiritual communities, Patreon or Facebook or Instagram, people are always asking me to discuss the truth about the law of attraction. And what I can say, is that there are many really creative, subjective, relative truths about law of attraction that are beautiful, that are informative, that are lovely. And there are objective truths that many, hermetics and alchemists and mystics for thousands of years have taught in the same way, not always using the exact same words, but in this class we're going to be addressing 4 different points of ancient mysticism and where those universal laws showed up in them, where the ethical tenets of use arises both in Eastern mysticism and Western mysticism. So we're going to be discussing some Sufi masters and their points on it, some Christian mystics and their points on it in prayer, or contemplative mystics, contemplation. We're going to be discussing where it arises in various degrees of mysticism for the past 4,000 years. Because New Age got it from somewhere. Everything that you're hearing about mirroring and the law of mirroring, there's no such words in ancient mysticism, but they got it from somewhere. And what I've noticed over time is that law of attraction has been very misinterpreted, very misused, just to kind of like be more of a person who's into trying to get money. Money spells is what we call that, working with energy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's the beautiful, relative, subjective way to use it. But it's just the surface level. It's the end result. When these bodies, they rot away. I don't care who's telling you what about ascension and where that's going, but I'm telling you straight, as mystics have for thousands of years, these bodies are temporal. You will die in this body. Thankfully, you're not the body, right? So we're going to be addressing some of that too. Like, where does this land in light of the philosophies and theosophies of the nature of the soul, the nature of spirit or essence, as some of the late mystics such as Jacob Behmen and his mentees called it. We're going to be discussing the law of attraction in light of where it lands in your formative world for materialism and how that can be kind of used and abused. And then you don't really understand how you've just really brought about deeper lessons. You may have gotten money or gotten what you want, but how did you F with your karma? And what did that bring upon joy or suffering, and why? So there are some points that I really do want to address, and it's going to take, well, guys, you know how my classes are. You've been lately in my Zoom classes, and I always say the classes are 2 hours. And then what happens? Boom, it's 7 hours. The shortest I've had lately was 3.5 hours. So no apologies on that. The work that we do together in finding these deep mystical truths and these deep mystical laws that have been around for thousands of years, tried and true, this work is deep and this work is simple. Now, I know it sounds not so simple the way I'm talking about it right now, but we're going to be finding these common interest points in 4 different areas of mysticism throughout the past 4,000 years. And the various very powerful mystics that pointed out how to use universal law and how this applies to cosmic mystical law. Not just our universe, but the entire cosmos, right? Something above and beyond just getting money or healing your health. That's just the result. It's a beautiful result, but how do you want to work with your soul? How do you want to use these universal laws to get to know yourself? So in the laws that are the foundation of law, what you know of as law of attraction, there are 3. Okay. Law of reflection is one. We're going to be discussing that. Okay. Law of rhythm is one. We're going to be discussing that straight from the Emerald Tablet and the Kyballion. We're going to be discussing balance and what that means. Yeah, I know some of you guys don't like that word, right? Of balancing out, and some of the deep mystical laws, such as everything in moderation, and then you get a hold of law of attraction in a modern world of spirituality, and you say, well, I'll follow my spiritual path if I can just manifest more abundance to do so. I'll follow my spiritual path if I can get healthy. That way I have the energy to do so. Those are surface level understandings. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just surface level understandings. But what some of the great, let me see who I can throw at you here. What some of the great Christian mystics and Eastern and Western mystics alike, from great sound masters such as the Sufi master Khan, Inayat Khan, that one talks about vibration and how we really need to understand vibration and how we land in the vibration of the universe in order to really manifest a connection to source before we start looking at everything we think we need in order to have that connection with source, like money, health, love. Those are the three things people come to me to talk about with this. You will say, if I have money, if I have love and support from a partner, if I get the right job, if I can get a house, right? Those are kind of consequences of the universal law. But what you need to do is talk about, what Inayat Khan talks about, like the vibration. What is that? What do we mean by that? What do we mean by the vibrational medicine of the sound of God? So many people go about that in different ways. So some of that pulls into Kyballion work. For instance, if you go about just trying to be, say, a money witch, and you just want to, not that that's bad, like I said, it's beautiful and creative, powerful. Are you also starting from the PowerPoint of your soul's work? Are you understanding your calling? Western mystics would call that the stirring of source within you. Are you feeling that? Do you understand what it is for you? How it applies in an inactive spiritual contemplative life, and in your active creative life? Because law of attraction, how it's currently taught, is active creative life first, and then, oh yeah, now I feel safe enough to express my inactive immanence and connection with source, which is the foundation. So it's sort of like the misinterpretation here that I'm seeing as a mystical teacher is like putting the roof and the windows on your house before you have a foundation or walls. And then when it collapses because you didn't do the soul work, you didn't understand the stirring, you didn't understand how to work with universal laws, particularly from Kyballion. You didn't understand the connection between you and your own soul before you started to manifest things. Well, that's the problem. And you can have all the riches, all the health, all the love, all the success in the world, and you still don't know that you don't know thyself. One of the basic tenets, on deeper mysticism of Kabbalah, right? So where is that really going to get you? Right? It doesn't. It's very temporal. It's like a cush little Band-Aid that kind of, if you have all that, then why would you want to get to know God anyway? Why would you want to get to know the God that's in here in the kingdoms? Why would you do that if you had all those things, right? So it's set up in a particular way when we understand universal law that we don't get those things first for a reason. It's not that we can't. You can force it. You can go all around Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all social media right now. TikTokers everywhere are talking right now about how to manifest money, be a money much, money, right? And at a practical level, you may say, well, I need that to survive. At a soul level, who the fuck are you? You got all this money and you don't know God. You don't know your purpose. You don't have a stirring or calling towards innate happiness. You don't know divine love. You only know it through the fake safety that money provides only in a temporal manner. And your body's going to die and you can't take it with you. Am I right? Anybody want to counter that? So there's something to this that we need to really delve into deeply. You're taught also in a lot of new modern spiritual communities that your energy match. You need to be paying attention to what you see according to the law of mirroring. It's not called that. No mystic has ever called that except New Agers. It's the law of reflection. It's not an actual mirror all the way where you just look at it and see all these parts in you that you need to fix. God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and does not make mistakes. You are not broken. You don't need to fix a damn thing. Do you hear me? You are not broken. Those things, even the dark night of the soul, according to St. John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, St. Catherine of Siena, some of the most powerful Western mystics that you can know that ever existed. Joan of Arc, like so many of these powerful beings knew that your energy match wasn't about being broken and that you needed to fix it. Light attracts this dark night of the soul as a mystical initiation because darkness is light's greatest teacher. And let me just demonstrate that, okay? You are now in darkness. What do you know of light? Nothing right now. You just know darkness. Now light is shining in darkness. Now you can see all my features. Now you can get to know me because of light, right? But if you did not have darkness, you would just be in light all the time and you just think it's natural and normal. But in a dark world, it's not natural and normal. Our times are getting, well, quite frankly, rough, transitional, transformative. They're getting darker. And it's harder to know light. So you need the dark night of the soul. You need those things. And you're busy trying to use, more modern types of law of attraction to just get the surface level needs without really knowing the darkness of your soul that will help you remember and appreciate and expand once you have light again. You see? I mean, we are fetuses in our mother's womb in complete darkness. And when we first see light, we cry. We want to go back into the womb. We want to be back in the dark. We cry. We want to be back in the unity with our mother. Well, it's the same way in the soul, wishing to get back to the unity and the oneness of source, all the time longing for home. We're not even comfortable with light, right? Do we really know what light is? Get to know your darkness. Don't be afraid of dark night of the soul. This is why also parallel, we've been discussing all my exclusive Patreon community, St. John of the Cross, who brings about his writings of dark night of the soul. We've been addressing the cloud of the unknowing in multiple classes because that one is taking some time. Cloud of the unknowing addresses, guess what? Dark night of the soul. Catherine of Siena teaches us how to pray and helps us understand that light and dark are most powerful. Teresa of Avila, that was 2 months ago, and you can still review that as well. In the Castle of the Soul, we addressed, in the dungeon and first, second, and third kingdoms of God within you, how those are actually quite dark and necessary before you go to other levels, right? So when you understand the power of that divine paradox and of the paradoxes that you creatively choose, often because of free will, then you stop trying to hide from it by just manifesting money, health, or love, and you start going deeper into your actual purpose, into your divine calling, into that stirring that makes you seek source. You're seeking something, wanting more, feeling like you're lost and that something's just not really belonging all the time. So don't be fooled by these modern day misinterpretations of manifestation without understanding and delving deeply into the universal laws, into getting to know thyself, into understanding the deeper mystical tenets of this work, mystical laws, right, that are underlying. Because you can't get to know yourself, your soul, your calling, And you can't understand that deep stirring and longing and feeling lost if you're avoiding dark night of the soul, number one, or if you don't understand mystical law, number two, or if you just would rather have the band-aids of money, love, and success, number three, as opposed to the depth of knowing thyself. The deepest tenet in mysticism, know thyself, is a tenet that we're going to deeply discuss. So there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. God doesn't make mistakes. I hope that you can make it to this powerful class. Again, it will be recorded for all registered attendees. It won't be sold at a later date. Come to the live event, but if you can't, you will be emailed a recording, typically 24 to 48 hours later. You'll get that in the email that was used to register. All of that, and you can get 30% off of this class right now if you are a part of the exclusive Patreon spiritual community. And if you're not, go ahead. It only costs $13 to do so. We'll link it up. I believe I put it in one of the chat links over here. Okay, in the chat, and you can join that and then email us or message us there from your Patreon account for that link. All right, so that's it that I want to discuss about the class, and now I'll take your questions. Oh, yeah. Someone said this will be a very catalyzing class. Yeah, because you've been mistaught so much. It's been misinterpreted so much in a modern world. As above, so below. Yep, somebody's been reading Kyballion and Emerald Tablets. Good job. We'll discuss what that means. Okay. Yeah, David says, what vibration are you choosing to believe that you are attracting to yourself? That's part of it. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Yeah, the hair. It's been a long going process with, I've been going gray. So as I go gray, my hairdresser has been turning me a very light blonde in preparation for going gray so that it doesn't look kind of like dark and then gray, which is very distracting to viewers. So that's why we're doing that, so that I can go gray effectively, because I've been gray for like 15 years. And it's now it's just too much to hide anymore, unless you go blonde as a part of it. Okay, any questions? We have a tiny amount of time for that. If not, let me know. But now is the short amount of time that we have. Do you have any questions? Have you guys been doing well? I haven't really been on here that much recently. I've been really busy on Patreon. We've been giving tons of extra classes so that we get through Cloud of Unknowing. And it's been such a uncovering, such an experience. That book is so powerful, I'll tell you. Okay, first question, how do you feel about the word aligning versus embodying versus mirroring? I feel that we are trying to replace ancient sacred words that mystics for thousands of years have used. You know, we're trying to replace the graces with those words. And the graces are some of the ancient tenets taught in mystical law, in Western mysticism. And when you work with the graces, you may be working with the grace of reverence. You might be working with the grace of courage. You might be working with the grace of fortitude or the grace of humility. You might be working with some of those things. And because over time, religion became, these things were pulled into religion somehow, and people were deeply misunderstanding this and attributing it to a religion. And as patriarchy took that over, people became afraid to pray, afraid to use the power of the graces in the way that the ancient mystics did. And then we started trying to form different words so that we could heal the collective wound that religion did, that placed upon us. And religion has a lot to answer for with that, and still does. Like, it's still far from perfect with that. But still, those words are very, very lacking because they don't initiate grace. When someone comes to me, I've been hearing this lately, Someone was in my chat the other day and she's like, I've been kind of picking and choosing what I align with Pamela's work and what I don't. And fine, but align with it all. One of the ancient tenets of mysticism says, if you don't see God in all, you won't see God at all. Your ego may find that very harsh, but according to the universal law of oneness, your purpose here is to connect those dots in every single teaching that exists, to use the grace of humility. Sorry, there's a giant cat hair that just floated past my face there. It's hilarious. What was that? Not a fairy, okay, nothing spiritual, just cat hair. It's huge though. Did you see it? So Gary, yeah, he's been shedding in the summer. So it's like you've got to find and connect these dots in every type of mysticism. Your job is to find it in everything. I have a hard time finding a new age, and I've been like pushing myself to really find that there and see, okay, well, why are they using that? Where did they get that from? Where did that come from? There's nothing new under the face of the sun. So I've been looking for the ancient tenets in New Age in order to kind of catalyze myself. So in this class, I'm catalyzing you by helping you connect the dots of the universal laws in every form of mysticism over the course of the past 4,000 years. Well, we can't cover everything in one class, but we're going to try. We're going to at least get to 4 to 5 different basic ones that built our civilizations and our cultures. Where did all these belief systems come from, right? So the word aligning is kind of a bit of a sneaky word that the ego will use when it just doesn't want to do the work. It's like, well, here's my safe point. I'm going to draw a little box of safety around myself and go, boop, 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 boop. I'm safe. I'm only going to do this. How's that working for you? Are you healthy? Are you whole? Do you experience divine love? Are you truly happy, not just based upon what money you're making or aren't, right? But just looking at the whole rounded version of you. Are you where you need to be in your calling? Can you really say yes, or is that ego saying that because you're feeling defensive right now when I say this? Do you see where I'm coming from? So with the word aligning, that's how I feel about it. I feel that that's pretty tricky. You could use that just because you don't like something and the ego goes, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't align to that, right? Do you see what I mean? Embodiment, I love the word, but it's still not an effective replacement for some of the original words that were utilized, such as illumination, immanence, emanation. When I say immanence or emanation, they're used together typically in ancient mysticism. How do those words feel you instead of embodiment? You got to be in here and then be out here, above and below, as so above, as so below. I'm saying just some words to sort of reactivate your karmic memory of the way that it was originally described versus just saying embody. Does that word even feel reverent to you? Does it feel sacred? Does it feel holy? I mean, it may or may not, but it doesn't work for me because it just makes me think of my body, embody. But immanence, illumination, when I say that, I can't even talk. I'm like, yeah, you see, and then it's like, it's that, yeah, that happens. Body is just gone. And yet filled. It's not there, but it is. I recognize I'm not the body, but the body just suddenly got lit up. Do you see the difference? Mirroring versus what? Holy vision. How do you feel about that? If you're not scared of the word holy, I give you a big one there. You got to see something. You got to have eyes to look at something in a mirror. You have to have the grace of discrimination and the grace of discernment, the grace of wisdom in order to, the grace of understanding, the grace of knowledge in order to comprehend what you see in that mirror and why it's there, right? So mirroring, what does that even feel like when you use that very empty word? You can't manifest really with those words. They're kind of empty and they haven't been around for very long. They haven't been around for thousands and thousands of years to help us with our collective karma, like these other words have, these words that you're afraid of because of what religion did with them. Take these words back. Take prayer back. Take the word God back for yourself. You may think because I'm on a 30-day prayer challenge and I'm praying all the time that it's some religious thing that I'm doing, and it's not. We're taking the word prayer back. Okay. Next question. What about suffering? What is the purpose or message of repeating suffering or struggle? We'll get into that. What I suggest you do is look at my classes. If you really want to know about Dark Night of the Soul, maybe go into next month's studies. We haven't gotten there yet, but next month's studies on Patreon is from St. John of the Cross, who wrote Dark Night of the Soul. Like the first mystic to ever talk about it, at least in Western mysticism, and ever really deeply acknowledge that it's necessary. You know, some of the tenets of ancient Buddhism talk about suffering as a necessity for the evolution of compassion in the human collective, and for remembering what compassion even is, for sparking that light of compassion, right? So we start to look at suffering in a different light in these classes as well. Not to try to get rid of it, but just to understand it, to know thyself. Also in our classes this month on Patreon about Cloud of Unknowing, that'll give you a really good take on suffering, but it's too much to talk about in like the 5 minutes that we have. There's a lot to those ancient mystical tenets. What would you recommend to read and fully understand? Would you recommend to read and fully understand the Kyballion after taking the class? Fully understanding the Kyballion is going to take you some time. It's going to take anyone some time. So that's a big feat. It's a big goal. Okay. But to understand the basics of it during the class would be a goal that we have. And then let it work on you. We have this theory in modern spirituality that we read something, we get through it, we do a technique or modality, and then it's done and we move on to the next thing. We're using spirituality like fast food to fill us up temporarily. And then we wonder why we don't feel full in the long run, because we're just kind of filling the body and the mind still. We're doing the same thing that we did in religion in spirituality, right? So the concept of, oh yeah, now you fully understand it. No, you live it. You live it, right? That's the deepest understanding, is your life, treading the path. And that takes a while. Be patient with yourselves in this work. David says, seems like we amplify and attract more of what we think we don't have. That can be. Learning gratitude is essential. Yeah, that's a grace. We're going to talk about the graces in the class and how they work. Oh, thank you, Maria. Thanks for that. And she said your recent Patreon classes are like no other. You know what? I just finally did. People were coming to me and you're like, when we had our polls, you're like, teach another channeling class. So I did. And I was surprised that no one showed really for it. Teach another astral projection class. So I did. Teach another third eye class. So I did, right? And it just really, it's just sort of like opening up all your spiritual multidimensional gifts and associating that with consciousness. We have more multidimensional, third eye opened people, like operating through these mystical senses and bodily senses. Well, we have more operating through bodily senses than ever before. And yet we still are less conscious than ever before. We are less conscious in our world, with our bodies, with others' bodies, with our ethics towards plants and animals and Mother Earth. If we're supposedly so conscious and so much at 0 point, so much awakened right now, why is Earth dying? Why are we blowing each other up? Why are we manifesting big diseases at the collective level? Why are we still at war? We are less conscious, more selfish, less grateful than ever before, even with all these gifts opening. So what I learned as a mystic is that it doesn't matter how many, how much you see, how much you hear, what kind of gifts you have. It doesn't make you awake and aware, ethical, or conscious. So I started shifting a lot of my work into the deeper tenets of mystical law, particularly the graces. I started wanting to understand power and love. I started to want to really get a deeper understanding of why people were battling power against power, and why it was power over and power under, why there always has to be a victor and a victim. I started to want to understand archetypes because we keep repeating them. And I wanted to understand karmically why we keep repeating them. What's in it for us as a collective? So that's when my teachings changed. I started to shift and I started to say, you know what, if I lose Patreons, I'll lose them. If you guys don't understand the work, so be it. You'll come back to it, or maybe later, maybe years later. And I just started to teach what I really wanted to teach. No polls, no, what do you think about this? No input, just completely divinely guided based upon what our world needs right now. That's what happened. That's what happened in my teachings and in my heart. So thank you for pointing that out. How about the word remember instead of manifest? If our brain could handle that, it would be a good hack. It's kind of almost there. Almost there. Almost there. You're close on that. All right, I'm going to go. I love you guys so much, and I'm so excited that we can just continue these deep mystical teachings together. I'm excited that you want to do it, because I wasn't sure if you'd really want to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I feel right now, I'm at this point in my teaching, and I felt this way probably back in 2015 when I first started channeling publicly. A friend of mine said, you got to do this. I double dog dare you. I'm always calling her out on that, Petra. I double dog dare you to channel Jesus in the way you have for me. And I went, no way. No way. I am never doing that. And I did it. And I cried. You know, I looked so silly. Like my 3-year-old daughter at the time put a little flower in my hair, and I was terrified, right? So I'm not terrified, but I'm at this space where it's like, I said the same thing now as I did then. I said, you know what? This is either going to make me or break me. This is pulling me into my divine self. And if it breaks me, so be it. If I go broke financially too, nobody supports it, so be it. This is what the world needs. And we went from there. That's what happened. And that's the same place that I was in my transition in 2015. Right. And we've just been delving so deeply into mysticism since then. And we need more mystics in the world. We need more of you guys. So much more mystics. We need people who aren't afraid of equality. When did that become a thing, that we'd become afraid someone would have more than us? When we weren't supporting each other. When so many people are so threatened by other people's power. I've never seen that before. So I knew you needed these classes. That's how it came. Oh, that's your favorite video? Why is that? So many people say that. Why is that your favorite video? I really want to know. Oh, there went another cat hair. I don't even know where it's coming from now. The cat isn't even around. Okay, I will see you guys. For the rest of the week on Patreon, we have the Sacred Law of 3, connecting in the Holy Trinity of the number 3 and why it works, focusing on the work of Jacob Behmen. We have that tomorrow at 1 o'clock, also recorded. Everything's always recorded except Spiritual Bonfires. That one, it's deep. You're going to like it. I'd say it's a preface, a little bit of a preface to the class coming up in August. And then a really powerful one also this Friday called What is Mysticism? And it's about finding and connecting those dots of what that means for you, and finding that stirring in your soul, and how to live that practically in a world without an ashram, a world without a monastery, a world without a prayer closet, or, we don't typically go to church anymore, most of us, right? It's about that. It's about really applying mysticism in your world, knowing what it is for you, and how to really connect with people in a modern world. Many people are coming to me wanting to connect to the stirring and calling to be a mystic, but then you come back to me and you say, okay, but nobody accepts that. The world thinks I'm weird and I stand out like a sore thumb. Now what? So that class on Friday on Patreon is about that practical level of life as a mystic without a monastery. Okay, that's on Patreon as well. And for this class that we're talking about today, if you want more of this, it is on August the 7th, and you can book that at PamelaAralyn.com. You can get 30% off of the class if you join my exclusive Patreon community. 30%. Just join it and, Do the math. It's really nice. It's a really nice discount, because the class is, not very expensive, but moderately expensive otherwise. And it goes way down if you do that. All right. Do your own math, feel out your own heart. I really hope to see you there. I haven't really had a law of attraction class in a very long time. And this one's it. This is the big one. All right. I'll see you there. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.